I'm Lauren with IndoorGardening.com, and today we're going to talk about plant fertilizer. Plant fertilizer is all the vitamins and nutrients that your plants are going to need. It's often referred to as plant food. It's really not a food for the plants, but it is something that is very crucial and absorbed by the plant that helps the plant do a whole bunch of different functions. So the basic functions come from photosynthesis, which is when the plant is absorbing light. That's what actually feeds them. But all of the extra nutrients and building blocks come from fertilizer. Fertilizers come with three basic necessities. It's an NPK ratio. NPK stands for the different nutrients that are in there: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, NP and K. Each of these nutrients serves a specific function. Nitrogen provides healthy new leaves, happy new cell growth. You have a healthy looking plant because of the nitrogen. This also enables your plant to push out a lot of new growth and form healthy new leaves. So if you are trying to get your plant to grow more foliage, this is generally the nutrient that you really want to look at. Maybe add a little bit more of this to your plants. Phosphorus is really great for root growth and photosynthesis. So phosphorus is a key ingredient for the plant being able to absorb the nutrients, absorb the minerals, and absorb that light in order to utilize it to complete their functions, push out that new growth. If there's not enough phosphorus in there, then it's not going to be absorbed by the plant. None of the other nutrients will be absorbed by the plant properly, and the plant won't be able to utilize them to push out that new growth. So it's a very critical ingredient as well. And then there is potassium. Potassium is very crucial for the disease resistance of your plants. So if you have plants that are continually getting diseases, they might need more potassium. Also, if you're trying to get your plants to bloom or to produce a large amount of fruit, then potassium is going to help with that as well. Potassium also helps plants to photosynthesize and better absorb nutrients through the air and their aerial roots as well. So that's really good for aeroids or epiphytic plants. NPK is a standard all across the board because they are very crucial to the development and production of all plants. So it doesn't matter what fertilizer you use, they will have all three of these in there unless you specifically go and choose a nutrient that is just one of these. The NPK ratio seems very, very complicated, but it's really just the amount of these three different nutrients broken down into your fertilizer. For example, you add in 1 cup of nitrogen, 1 cup of potassium, 1 cup of phosphorus. That is a 1-1-1 ratio. You can also have it be a 10-10-10 ratio. It's just equal parts of those three things mixed into the mixing bowl that becomes this fertilizer. Okay, so where fertilizer gets a little bit more complicated is when they start changing up that ratio. They might have 2 parts nitrogen to 1 part potassium and 1 part phosphorus, right? So, but that nitrogen is going to be focusing more on plant growth and plant foliage. So if you feel that your plants are already getting enough of the other two and you don't need, you feel like they need a little bit more growth, maybe they're at different stages, then that's where you want to focus. So once you know what each of these specific things do and how it's broken down on the label, you can choose the fertilizer that's going to work best for you. When the NPK number is higher for you, that just means that there is going to be more concentration of those specific ingredients in that little bottle, and you are giving more of those specific ingredients to your plants. For example, if you have a 10-10-10 ratio, then it is going to be giving 10 times the amount instead of 1 times the amount of each of those ingredients. So you want to add an even amount, but this is going to be for heavier feeding plants. For example, if you have a monstera, they are a very heavy feeding plant. If you have fruit trees, they're going to be a little bit more heavy feeding, especially if they're in the fruiting season than if they were little teeny tiny baby plants. And what you can do if you have a 10-10-10 ratio and you have a smaller plant is you can actually dilute that with water, so that way you're giving a smaller amount of these same equal ingredients to your plant. So that way it's not going to cause any fertilizer burn, it's not going to cause any issues for your smaller plants, but you still have that same really strong fertilizer for your bigger, more robust plants that are going to need a lot more fertilization. And also, it is a way for you to not have to fertilize as much. For example, if you have a plant that's a heavy feeder, instead of feeding it every single day or every single watering, you could just water it once a week but use a heavier fertilizer, provided it's not super sensitive to the various nutrients. But usually when they're large enough to handle a 10-10-10 fertilizer, they are going to be in a very, very large pot. It's going to be very water retaining. They're not going to need to be watered very often. So it benefits you to just water them one time with a stronger fertilizer instead of constantly watering them a little bit every day with a smaller fertilizer that's not going to give it what it needs. Fertilizer comes in 3 different distribution methods. You can get some type of a dissolving material that you mix in with water and you water your plants with. There's also a slow release fertilizer for that dissolves slowly, giving your plants nutrients slowly over months. This is most widely used by growers all across the board. So if you end up getting a plant from a big box store or a nursery, majority of the time it will have slow release on it. And then lastly is a foliar spray, which is basically a fertilizer that you can spray on your plants. This is great for epiphytic plants and aeroids because they like to take in nutrients from the air around them, and they like it in a misting form. So this is one of the very few times where they recommend misting your plants in order to get them fertilizer. Hopefully this answered some of your questions today. Hopefully you can go forth and have healthier, happier plants and understand fertilization a little bit more. Hopefully this demystified some of the NPK stuff that's out there, made it a little less intimidating to go shopping for these things. Please feel free to check out indoorgardening.com. We have lots more information there for you, and we are always happy to help. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!